there, welcome back to another cottage renovation video. In today's video I am going to be doing some lime plaster inside, so I'm going to get set up and we'll talk about it a bit more inside. So I'm going to be working above the door area, so I'm going to have cleaned down, wet the area with a spray. Not too wet, but wet enough so it doesn't suck the moisture out of the lime. So that's the plan. We're going to render eventually all of this wall and then partition it in front of that and pack it full of insulation. Probably a wood fibre or a lamb's wool, something that breathes. So yeah, there's no vapour barrier in the wall, it's got to be able to breathe both ways. So that's the thought process behind that. Get some water on that. Depends on the weather conditions, the time of year, stonework, as to how much water you soak it with. It's really down to experience, I suppose. Has to be wet enough, but not, wet to the hands. Once it soaks it all back in, you're pretty much there. It's just so it doesn't dry the lime out too quickly. The process is a slow drying process, unlike cement. Although the hydrated lime, which I'll be using, is activated by moisture, so it dries a lot quicker. So whilst that's soaking in, let's go and talk about the mix. It's made by Saint Estier. This is the French version and it's NHL natural hydraulic lime, a 3.5, so it's mid-range. You can get a 5 and a 2. So the number 2 or 3.5 or 5 just denotes, I think, basically the crushing strength of the lime. So yeah, I'll try and keep it as basic as I can because yeah, it can get not complicated but a bit involved. So yeah, when you use cement based products, you'll see a lot of the time that the brick spalds and splits, and you'll see salts in the bricks, and that is where it's not being able to breathe, and the cement is sometimes stronger than the soft brick and it just simply breaks the brick before the cement. So okay, let's get a mix going. Now what I like to do is mix it up dry first. It must be thoroughly mixed. I always put the sand in. We're using a ratio of 2 sand to 1 lime, must be equal measures, though it does vary. You can go sort of 3 to 1 ratio as well. So that's what I'm using. Now as far as pricing goes per bag, you're probably looking, depending on where you buy it, the lime is probably 3 times more expensive than the cement, but it is well worth the extra. Now, I did plan on doing some pointing the stonework outside, but I've noticed we've got some bees going in some of these holes, so just going to hold fire on that, make sure we haven't got a nest or anything in there. And to be honest with you, the sun is a little bit hot, so that can be one of the challenges with using lime. So there is some remedial pointing I need to do above the door lintel. I do plan to point the whole lot of all these buildings all with the same consistent mix, so it'll probably be just filled in before the winter, and then when I come to do the whole thing, probably take it out, because most of it, I believe, is cement based, and that's just not good enough. Now simply take some out of there into another bucket. I don't take it all out of there, gives me a longer working time with it. Mix the water in into the next bucket. Just test it out. Yep. Clotted cream. The wall is very uneven. Not that I'm planning to get it flat and smooth with the first coat. It's only having one good layer on it. It's just going to act as an insulator and something to check the vapour. It's going to control the moisture and the dampness. It's going to allow the wall to breathe. It's going to be insulated in front with a stud work wall, but the purpose of this is just to consolidate this wall. Well, I've got started. It's certainly not going to look pretty, but it doesn't need to. It doesn't need to be flat or smooth, which is just as well because I am a crap plasterer. That's not my best suit by far, but doesn't need to be. What I'm doing in here is perfectly fine and I can live with it. Time to get another batch mixed up. Now if there was two of you, use a cement mixer, conventional cement mixer, and in that way, you'd really fly through it, but you don't want to mix too much up, certainly not wet. Now it's very important to make sure it's thoroughly mixed when it's dry, as well as when you add water to it. Okay, so while I'm mixing that up, let's go and check in on those cats. Basically I came out here. Pixie, tortoiseshell one, with a bee in his mouth. Luckily it didn't sting him. Down here's the cool one, he's the cool dude. He just lounges about, he does have his moments though. Now I'd also like to thank the recent purchases from my online shop, welcome to shaunsworld.com. You can buy hats, t-shirts, tote bags, mugs, and also my Etsy store. Yep, all the purchases, proceeds go towards this project. So I'd like to say a big thank you to Heather, Carol, Kaylee, James I've mentioned before, and John. So yep, your recent purchases have helped me push along with this. So we bought things like lime and sand. Nothing glamorous, but very, very necessary and important on the project. So thank you very much. Now believe it or not, even though it's a boiling hot day, I've had to go indoors. I've had to stop work inside the cottage. I always look up and check the chimneys on our cottage to make sure we don't get those pesky wasps back again. Yeah, they caused me so much trouble last year, financially, and the fact that I couldn't work in that area. So I'm always keen to check, especially this time of year. They kind of congregate in the chimneys. Now I've just checked and we've got insects around both chimneys this time, so I've just gone inside, lit the range up, lit the wood burner, a nice smoky fire, and hopefully that will deter them away from there. I've just got to pop inside and just check that it's still going okay. Okay, yep, that's going okay. We'll just shut that down a little bit, warm the flue up. So that's the living room chimney. Scan across over to the kitchen one. Now I've got a whirl around on this one which does deter them, but they're still hovering around, you know, the slightest crack and they get inside. It's very odd, you know, we have fires in here, you'd think they'd be able to smell the smoke and the soot throughout the year. We've got chimneys down this end, one in the cottage, they never ever go in that one. I don't know, maybe it's because it's open. This one is like a closed cavity if you like, but yeah, the threat never goes away, so I have to keep an eye on it, and it's normally when it's a warm day in autumn that it happens. So yeah, I'm lucky that I did actually spot it early. I think that's going to deter them, so yeah, but it does slow me down with my plastering. Right, let's get back to the job in hand. I have to check on the fires in between, but yeah, let's go back inside. Now I really could do without that extra distraction whilst I'm doing this, but yeah, never comes at a good time. I just don't want this drying out too much because it will crack. I noticed the first patch I done, maybe the mix was a little too dry. There's a few hairline cracks, not that it matters, but it just tells me it was too dry, too quick. Make sure you keep your board damp as well. Stop sucking out the moisture. There are any deep indentations like this, we'll get some lime in there and then we'll pack it out with a stone. You don't want to put too much lime because it'll belly and just fall out, so yep, it's handy to have these little bits of stone as well. Going to be hidden behind the stud work, so there's no need to put a beading on there really. Obviously if it wasn't going behind stud work we'd address the issue, especially by the doorway. I think maybe some of this area of wall I should have maybe gobbed it out first, but kind of trying to do the two-in-one, so if it was on show then definitely it had been filled out first before I put this coat on, but I'm lucky in that respect. It's all going to be hidden. There's still lots of wasps flying around there, but I think I've just got to it just in time. They must have a homing instinct on them the following year or something like that, but yeah, had to have the nest sprayed twice last year. Still didn't fully get rid of them. I think we're okay now, he says, fingers crossed. Now before I go and mix up another batch, I bought a couple of, well, quite nice items at the Vid Grenier the weekend, so let me talk you through what I've got. Pretty self-explanatory, although this one is quite a unique design. It's in one of my books that I've got, so I was keen to get this. Yeah, it's fantastic. That's got to be cleaned up. That will go into my Etsy shop. Link in the description. Now this I hadn't seen before. Obviously it's a Weber vane, but it's a tabletop one. There's a bearing in the top there. Obviously spins round, needs a little bit of oil. And yeah, I think this is kind of like a scratch built, shed made item, which really did appeal to me actually. You know, it's naive charm. I think these are copper. I'll probably clean this up actually. They'll look really nice polished up. And yeah, we'll get some polish on this, but we'll clean this copper up, give that an oil, hopefully get it working again. Brilliant. But before I come back and clean that up, I need to use up the last of the dry mix, get that on, and then we'll come back and see how that comes up. I think what I better do is gob out, which means fill those deep voids. Thought I could have got away with just one coat, maybe I was being a bit optimistic. The further I move down the wall, the bigger the holes are getting, so I'm going to fill up some of them holes and yeah, we'll still do it with one coat. Just on the boundaries really of it being too thick and bellying out a little bit, but should be okay. Brush that off shortly. So while that's going off, let's get cleaned up and go and have a look at those items. Okay, I think I'll put this to one side. I'm going to do that on my buffing wheel. So we'll put that over here and we'll come back to that shortly. Right, now let's give this a clean up to see whether it's actually copper underneath. Pretty certain it is. Quite tricky to clean actually because it's quite thin, flexible. Maybe it'd be better if I laid it down. It's certainly got some age and tarnish to it. I don't really want to scratch it because then I'll have to do a whole lot. I think it is copper. It's slowly revealing its colour. Just want it to be clean actually, you know. Not too bothered about it being shiny, you know, bright copper. What I don't want to do is snap it. Sometimes I can be a little bit heavy-handed. Oh, that actually comes off. Okay. Actually, let's have a look. It may all be brass, I don't think so. Quite a nice piece actually. Well cast iron base. It's like someone's been doing a bit of upcycling back in the day. Not sure, may have been made like it, but it does look very primitive. Probably hasn't come up as bright as I was anticipating. That doesn't really matter. Let's just try giving this. Don't normally do this. I will buff it afterwards. Now once this is all cleaned up, it's going to take a bit of work, but once it's all cleaned up I'm going to put it in my Etsy store, link in the description, Sean's World Etsy shop, and see how it come out. It's going to take me quite a while to polish it back up, so yeah, once I've done that I shall list it and it'll be up for sale. Do any of you recognise the shape? Do you know what it's used for? Let us know in the comments. Maybe you've got one. Okay, we'll clean that off. Right, I'm heading back off into the cottage. Going to brush that render off. And I'll see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching.